Hi, Berclair Bears, it's Miss Anderson, and I am back with another foundational skills lesson. As you can see, the state standard that we are adhering to today is that we can demonstrate command of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when speaking and writing. Our focus today is going to be adverbs. For the do now today, I want you to look at this picture, and this is a tortoise, not a turtle. I had to look up the difference. Tortoises, the main difference is that they live on land, whereas turtles live in water most of the time. So this is a tortoise, and I want you to think to yourself for a minute or two maybe, and tell about how and where this tortoise is walking. Now, you might want to write this down. You might pull your sibling into the room and tell them. But just looking at the picture, how is it walking and where is it walking? Now, when I'm looking at this image, I see that the tortoise is walking, and I'm going to use my background knowledge on tortoises, and I know they're not very fast-moving animals. And so I might say it is walking slowly, and that would be how, right? And then if I'm thinking about where this is happening, I might say it's in the weeds or in the grass, right? Or even on the rocks, okay? Now, whether you knew it or not, the words you were coming up with were probably adverbs. If you were telling how and where this tortoise is walking, you are describing that verb. The verb is walking, right? To walk. So if you were telling how or where, you were probably using adverbs to do that. And on the screen here for you, there are some definitions, okay? So an adverb, and adverbs are going to be purple throughout the rest of the slide. An adverb is a word that tells something about a verb. So as we just talked about, it might tell how, when, or where. And usually a really good clue for how to spot an adverb is if you are trying to describe how for a verb, it'll probably end in ly, right? So words like quickly, sloppily, slowly, right? Now a verb, just as a quick reminder, is an action word like run, jump, or swim. So let's play around a little bit more with adverbs and verbs. And if you need to come back to this slide for whatever reason, feel free to go back in the video just to make sure you can remind yourself of what it is that you're working on today. Let's look at a couple of examples. I walked quickly to class because I was late. What's my verb in this sentence? Thinking which one is the action? The action is walk, right? I walked. Okay, and verbs, again, from now on are going to be highlighted in green. So as we go throughout, look for purple for adverbs and green for verbs. Now I'm going to ask the question, how did I walk to class because I was late? I walked quickly to class because I was late. And in the second example, it says, I slowly opened the door to see who was knocking. What is the action in this case? I'm opening the door, right? I opened the door. And how did I open the door? I opened the door slowly. Take 1 minute and think to yourself, how does the adverb change the sentence? Now I'm thinking to myself, this adverb changes the sentence because it tells me a little bit more about that verb that I wouldn't have known if it wasn't there. I could say I walked to class because I was late, but how do you think a person's going to walk to class if they're late? I mean, picture that you are late getting to Miss Hunt's class. You took a little too long helping clean up at lunch, and so you're late to her class. How are you going to try to get there? You don't want to miss math, so you're going to walk quickly, right? And when you say quickly, you're telling your reader a little bit of extra information about how you walked, right? Now, in the second example, it says, I slowly opened the door to see who was knocking. In what situation would someone have to open a door slowly? If I knew my best friend was coming over, I'm going to open the door really quickly. But it sounds like this person may not even know who's there, right? Because they opened the door slowly. And if they did it slowly, that implies that they're probably trying to be cautious or careful, okay? So think about how those adverbs might change the sentence or might change how we understand the sentence. Now here's where you're going to get to spend some time practicing on your own, okay? So look at the screen. You may want to pause it for a second and try to do these each on your own or with someone who's with you right now. Go ahead and take the time to find the adverb in each sentence. And if you're extra fast and you want a little bit more practice, feel free to look also for the verb. If you can find the verb, it's usually a lot easier to find the adverb. Good. If you need a little bit more time, feel free to pause the video before moving on to the next slide. Now, here I did exactly what I said I would do, right? I highlighted each verb in green and I highlighted each adverb in purple. So that first sentence says, I crept slowly across the floor, getting ready to scare my brother. If someone crept, that is the past tense, and it's kind of a funky word. That is the past tense of the word creep. So when you creep into a room, you're doing it stealthily, right? Or carefully. Now this person, in this case, it says, I crept slowly across the floor. So our verb is to creep, and our adverb is slowly, telling how this person chose to creep across the floor in order to scare their brother. The second example says, Michael speaks quietly on the phone with Brandon so as not to wake his little sister. Imagine your baby sister or baby brother is sleeping next to you and you're on the phone with your best friend. How do you think you're going to make sure that you speak in order to not wake up your sibling? Michael, in this case, speaks, so that's his verb, quietly on the phone. Now, in the final example, this one's a little bit trickier because we've really practiced a lot with how, but we haven't had the chance to practice a lot with when something might happen, right? When the verb might take place. This says, I always wake up early to make sure I have time for breakfast. Now, they wake up early, not sometimes, not every once in a while. They wake up early always to make sure that they have time for breakfast in this case. So always is also this word that kind of describes our verb, which is to wake up, right? Gives you a little bit more information about that verb so you can better understand the sentence. Adverbs in writing. So I gave you two sentences here. One at the top, one at the bottom. I'm referring to this one here and then this one here. And one has adverbs, the other does not. So let's read the first one. The wind blew the leaves on the trees and the sun shone on the valley. Good sentence. If I were to close my eyes and I would let someone read that to me, I could probably picture that scene. But listen to the sentence this way. The wind gently blew the leaves on the trees and the sun shone brightly on the valley below. I just got a lot more information. This wind isn't a strong, powerful wind, right? But it's gently blowing the leaves, gently being my first adverb there. The sun shone brightly, so it's not just a dull kind of day where there's clouds, whatever. The sun is brightly shining, and it's not shining brightly on just anything. It's shining on the valley, which we knew from the sentence above. But this tells us where the valley is in relation to the sun, right? It says that it is below, the valley below. So we're telling, even in this case, where it is, right? Or with the person that you're watching the video with, or even just inside your head. I just want you to really think about how adverbs changed this sentence. Good. Now here is an opportunity for you to try, except in this case, I didn't put any adverbs in. You're not just trying to find the adverbs, you're going to add them in yourself. So read through these sentences, see where you can put in some adverbs to kind of help your reader better understand the verbs. Okay. If you need more time, feel free to pause that slide. Here are some adverbs that I put in because I thought these would make the sentences more interesting, and yours might be the same as mine, or they might be totally different. In fact, they probably are, because the reality is there are so many adverbs out there that you could have added. This says, I speedily rode my bike to my best friend's house. Not just I rode my bike, but I speedily rode my bike. So now your reader, if they're reading this sentence or if they're even hearing it, they can really picture better how that's happening, right? How you are choosing to ride your bike. I sometimes wake up late because I stay up too late. So this is, man, I don't always stay up too late and then wake up late, but sometimes maybe I don't follow my schedule as well. I'll stay up a little late and then the next day it's harder to get up early, so I'll wake up late. Sometimes. That tells when, right? Or how often. And then this last one at the bottom says, my friend Leslie pushed me forcefully into the... Oops, sorry. Okay, let's try that again. My friend Leslie pushed me forcefully into the person in front of me in line. She didn't gently push her. She didn't bump her, right? She forcefully pushed me into the person in front of me in line. That's probably really mean. She probably shouldn't have done it, but let's think about that word forcefully. Now, that's one of those ones that's kind of easy to find because it ends in an ly, but it also tells us how she pushed her, right? Or how she pushed me. Forcefully, we know with suffixes that if a word ends in full, like forceful, it's saying that it's full of that thing. So her push was full of force or full of strength or power, right? So she pushed me forcefully into the person in front of me in line. Not cool, but a good adverb to use anyway. At home, I would love for you to write a schedule of your day. Be sure to include adverbs in the schedule to tell how, when, and where you do the things that you do, right? I slowly wake up in the morning, rolling over in bed a few times to wake up my body. I quickly make my coffee because I need it like right away, right? Things like that. I want you to use words like that that are going to help me or whoever else is going to read your schedule to better see how it is that you do the things that you do, right? Because our schedule is full of verbs. I go for a run, right? I cook dinner for my family, whatever it is, you've got verbs in there. So just make sure you use adverbs so that you can better describe those verbs. I miss you guys, and I can't wait to do another lesson with you. Have a great day.